This was a Ferrari 296. That was until the previous owner crashed it. And then I bought it in hopes to rebuild it.
Oh my days.
But along with all this damage, the car doesn't even start. So it's not even recognising that it's plugged in. And that was with help from Ferrari. But now, we're on our own. But getting it started might be the least of our worries. This damage here is really bad structural damage, and if we're going to attempt to try and fix that, we need to get to both sides of it. We can't even continue building this car if this structural piece isn't fixed. And to get this part of the frame out, we've got to remove the engine and the hybrid battery. Issue is, we don't think anybody has ever done this before, and this is the first time that one of these engines has probably come out of this car since they were ever made. So all of this, we've got to figure out ourselves. Let's get to it. First step, let's get this engine out. We've disconnected the airbox, which would have sat there. Then we've disconnected the fuel line, which is picking it up from the pump in each fuel tank, each side. They're going to go down with the engine. We're just trying to disconnect everything that's going to stay on the car from the engine, which is going to come off it. The next step will be all the coolant lines, and then eventually we'll get to the high voltage lines, which we don't really know what we're doing there, but we're going to wing it. See how we go. Let's continue. Because this car's twin turbo and hybrid, there's loads of cooling lines on this car that we need to remove. We're working that out now. The hybrid battery is, I think, behind the seats, well, behind the cabin of the car. Then you got fuel tanks, but then you have this, which I think is, this is the inverter. We only sort of recognise all of this because it was fairly similar on the Revuelto that we rebuilt. You have this little green plug, and apparently disconnecting that, this is for the fire engine people, and apparently disconnecting this isolates the battery and stops any fires. So you just, all you do is pull that out like that, and now the car should be safe. Supposedly. But we're hoping it is, because our next job is going to be removing the hybrid battery. This is the battery that goes all the way to here. Unlike the Revuelto, the hybrid battery on the 296 runs across the car. I'm now unplugging all of the orange lines from the battery, but there is one which runs from the back of it all the way to the front of the car. So we're removing the trims now to see exactly where that line goes. And the only thing that's holding the battery up from underneath is this brace here.
The battery's just floating. How's that being held in?
I think there's only 2 bolts holding that battery in, and they're inside the car because I noticed someone else taking the interior out. There is still a few more things we need to disconnect from the battery first, like the cooling system. So out comes the coolant from the battery. Then we're removing the front under tray to find exactly where this cable goes to the front, and we've found it. Now to disconnect it. Yay! We're going to try and drop the battery down just because we weren't planning on doing this at this rate, but it looks like it will come down if we undid the bolts, which I think are inside the car. So we're going to go do that. Then that will give us a lot more space at the front of the engine. Hopefully the car doesn't tip off the ramp once we remove the weight of the battery. We do definitely need to take this off anyway, because I think inside here will be the pyro fuse, but let's see. Experiment. Either way, it's got to come out because we've got to get to this chassis damage. Let's go. Inside the car, this is a total guess, but it looks serious. Look, there's these big bolts here, one there, and then there's one on the carpet on that side. And I think those 2 are the final bolts that hold the battery in. Could be wrong, but it is a guess. Hopefully when we undo them, the battery should come out. Let's see. Let's get it out. See if we can, well, see if we can get it out first. So we're going to hold the battery up with a toolbox outside.
Oh, we're just going to send it.
And Liam's going to undo the bolts which hold the battery on the inside of the car.
Something drop down. 2 bolts. 1, 2 are out.
Now we should be able to lift the ramp up, and the battery should stay on the toolbox whilst the car goes up in the air. Professional battery removers. And before we carry on with getting the rest of the engine out, we wanted to really inspect this battery. Once we removed the fire blanket from it, there wasn't much to it. But this massive thing weighs 75 kilos and takes up quite a big space of the car. And we think inside this box here, we might find the pyro fuse, which of course is the fuse which blows when the car has an accident, to prevent the high voltage battery sending any power anywhere else around the car to prevent fires. If we're hoping to get this car started, then we've got to find this pyro fuse. And we haven't seen anything inside the car, so if it's anything like the Revuelto, it might have one internally in the high voltage battery. Wow! I don't see any yellow things. I think let's take this out.
I'm staying away from this.
This part I'm removing now looks like the BMS module, which is basically the brain of the battery. And I was hoping to get it out the way to find a pyro fuse. Nothing that looks like a pyro fuse in there though, is there?
Do you think it's got one?
On the Revuelto, it looked like this, but it's nowhere to be seen on the 296. And now we're wondering whether the 296 even has one. Well, a good way to find out is to put the multimeter on the bit you shouldn't touch to see if there's power going to it. Because if there wasn't any power going to it, then surely it's being cut off by a pyro. And everywhere inside the battery still had good connection. Nothing was cutting the power. So everything's swaying towards that the battery is okay and there's no pyro fuse in there. But just to be sure, we're going to remove the bottom casing to see if there's any pyro fuse this side. Everything looks like the Revuelto one, apart from no fuse. It might literally just need something to say on your computer, it reset crash data, and then you're off. Nothing under here, so I'm putting back on the casing.
Packing the battery back up in its T-tower now, because, well, we think it's alright, don't we?
Yeah, I think it's alright. I think it just needs a charge. We're convinced the hybrid battery is actually okay, so we're moving back over to the car to fix all the structural work, and once that's fixed, we can put it all back together afterwards and see if the car starts. So now the goal is just to disconnect everything which is connecting the rear of the car to the front of it. It looks like we should be able to disconnect the whole rear frame with the suspension and engine away from the front. I've had to unplug all of this. I don't know where this is gonna, haven't marked it where it's gonna go back. I'm just gonna ignore. But I'm only removing this because this part of the frame is coming backwards. But wouldn't it make more sense for Ferrari to just have one singular big plug from the frame where it disconnects at the front here, like this big loom here? Wouldn't it just make more sense just to have a big plug which unplugs from there and then move forward rather than me having to unplug every single one of these? Maybe not. I feel like some of the Ferrari techs didn't really speak to each other when making any of these cars. Some of the stuff is bolted in, then welded as well. Some stuff makes sense and others not so much. Right now we're undoing the bolts which hold the rear of the car to the front of it. We've left in a few at the top, but we're going to undo all of them underneath. That way we can bring the car down onto some axle stands, and when we finally undo the top ones, we should be able to rest the frame on the stands. Going to hold the frame up. Hopefully we can leave the frame on the floor and then the car will go in the air and leave everything else on the ground. Fingers crossed. So this whole rear end should completely disconnect from the front side if we've done this right. Now we've undone all the bolts and all the wiring, we can lift the car up and the rest should stay on the axle stand. Yeah, boy! Oh my days. Look at that half a car. Oh my. I can't say we've ever took a car apart like this before. It's pretty cool. Look, it's not even a V. How can they call that a V? That's pretty much a flat engine. That's like a flat six, isn't it?
It's miniature.
It's almost a Porsche.
Do you know if we can't put it back together? Look great in the shop.
And now that the engine and everything's disconnected from the back, we have way better access to this structural damage.
That just looks like an absolute mess. Look at that. That looks crazy.
That's amazing. We didn't even have to take the exhaust off, look.
No, we could fit the new exhaust there. Or we could take it somewhere to be fitted.
It won't take long to get this out, will it?
Well, you said it now.
This part went pretty wrong. And yes, we probably should have took different measures when we did it, but it was an accident and it's happened now.
There's half the fuel tank.
How much fuel do you think's in this fuel tank?
A lot.
You think it's full?
I think it's a lot.
I'm gonna be the guy who does this one, the hose one, and then you be the guy that puts it in that one. Do you know what you should have? You should have goggles on for this.
You know what? It's just gonna go like that, innit?
Yeah, it's gonna fly out. We need to take the fuel tank off, so we've got full round access of that structural damage. And if everyone would like to take note, this is not how to drain the fuel out.
Oh my days! At least you got some in the bucket. What do we do in this scenario?
Not cool at all and not safe. Luckily, we were all okay. My dad was able to wash it out of his face and I was able to clean up all of the fuel that went everywhere around the workshop. Again, accidents happen and this could have been way worse. But now that we've cleared it all up and saved about 10% of the fuel that was in there, I can finally start removing the fuel tank for good. And we also need to see whether it's damaged.
Out.
And the side of it
No.
looks all okay. Even though the car was hit in that position.
Protection for it, obviously. But
So that guard must have saved it. And now that the fuel tank's out, we can have way better access to this part where we need to work on next. Right, fuel tank's out. We've got a lot of the damage pretty much exposed. We've got to take these pipes off as well. We've also got to take this quarter panel off. But first, we thought we might have to take the roof off because the quarter panel goes underneath the roof. But looking at it, when I've just got my little trusty screwdriver and I've gone underneath the quarter panel here, it looks like it's lifting up. So it might not actually be welded underneath that or riveted underneath that. So what we're going to try and do is detach it from the panel here, where there's little spot welds in the top. So we detach it from there, and then we're going to see if we can lift this quarter panel off and if it just slides underneath. We have ordered a new quarter panel and it should be here any time. So if we see the new quarter panel, then when that arrives, we should be able to tell whether that's had, whether it's got little weld marks or holes or something, which will give us an example of where that will go in there. Because if that is the case, and we can just slide it in, that saves a massive job of taking this roof off and risking damaging it. And also, look, there's a little weld here. So, but I reckon we can cut the quarter panel like here. And if we join it in this area, there's a little panel which goes over it. So I don't think that's too much of an issue. So it might be okay, because that saves a huge job of taking this roof off. And the roof's like £5,000 plus VAT, so I don't want to damage it. So now I'm just weakening off the spot welds which are on top. Once those welds are thinned down, I can get my chisel and break the quarter panel from the rest of the car. Then we're going back onto the side and I'm cutting the quarter panel into smaller sections. This is going to make it much easier to remove. Then I'm going to use my chisel to try and get off what's left of the rear quarter. And it looks like that part which goes underneath the roof is only panel bonded in. So I'm using my chisel to break that all apart. Yeah. Yeah, boy!
the good news is then, we could probably yam a load of glue in there when we put the new quarter in. Put it in.
It looks like we got away without having to take the roof off, which means we're not risking damaging it. Now I can remove the rest of the rear quarter, disconnect it from the bottom, take off the side skirt, and we're good to go. That is all exposed. Hopefully a new quarter panel comes with what we need. We now need to take off these broken pipes so we can access this damage here. And we're going to hand you over to Bob, who's going to tell us how we're going to fix that. But we need to wait for Bob to be here. let's clear the area for Bob. These aircon lines are going to be moved out the way, and I'm going to need to order some new ones. They're actually used for battery cooling as well as the air conditioning. Some of the other pipes like this as the fuel overflow, which we'll need to order as well. And once they're removed, now we finally have access.
This mashup is joined here with these welds, so you can see it slots in to this part. I'm going to preserve this bracket, so these special little flower bolts, I'm going to cut a line into them and turn them off with a flathead because I want to keep that.
Those bolts are actually self-tapping bolts. Ferrari and BMW use them just to screw on one panel to another, and then sometimes use a tack weld as well just to hold it in place. Once we've got them out, we can move the bracket off the broken part of the chassis and then start cutting the broken part of the chassis away from the good part. Right now, I'm just going to do some rough cuts because when Bob's going to come to weld it, I need to know exactly where he wants to weld it to.
Oh yeah, watch your toes.
I know for sure he's going to join it at this point here, so I'm going to make sure it's nice and clean away from the back part of the car. And the hammer and chisel will help me do that. Almost ready to fix now.
This is cut out of here. We're not sure what to do with this yet. We're not sure how we're going to replace it, but now we do. We've got a bob and a part. And look, this is the whole half of a car from Ferrari, look. I'm not sure how we were allowed to order this, but somehow we've ordered it. And Bob's going to work out how we're going to get this into there. How are we going to do it?
Don't know yet, but I think I'm going to draw some lines based on these holes that should be the same on both parts. Measure some lines off that, cut down on both of them,
Yeah.
and try and jam that in there somehow.
And that's okay to join it in here then?
Yeah, I've checked up what type of metal it is. It's printed on the back there. I've done my research on it. So
It's really
all got-
flimsy.
No, it's fine.
There's like no strength in it. Like I think it's absorbed a lot of the hit, to be fair.
It is a bit bent. There's some weird twists and stuff. That's a lot straighter than this is. So I'm going to cut it way above any
Oh, okay.
of the bending on it.
Yeah.
That'll be fine. All good.
Sounds good. I think we should just let Bob do his thing. He knows what he's doing, so we just let him do it.
I claim to know what I'm doing.
So now we have the replacement piece. If the insurance were going to repair this, the only way they'd be allowed to do it is by the book repair. So if this part needs replacing, they'd have to replace it in the way it arrives from Ferrari, which would mean replacing the whole thing. But because we're not the insurance, and we have a Bob, we can do it our own way. And as Bob knows these materials inside out, he knows it's going to be safe and stronger than the factory. You can see here, once he's cut it off, this is just a hollow piece of aluminium, which helps it stay light and keep costs down.
Now we're going to do the same thing on this one. First time.
Bob's marked out a stencil that he used to cut out the damaged panel, and he's using it again on the good panel so he can make sure he makes the cuts in the exact same
That's
position.
the old bit, that's the new bit. We're going to put the new bit in the car.
Moment of truth, you can slide it in, make sure it fits perfectly. Remember, if Bob doesn't get this right, then the subframe that the engine sits on isn't going to line up to the frame. So it's vital he's confident that this is going to work. He's now cleaned up the part for welding, then he can tack it into place before he continues to weld the whole thing onto the chassis. Time for the welding, Bob's speciality, and conveniently enough, Bob can teach you how to weld at the machine shop, and I've popped a link in the description for that if any of you guys watching wanted to learn how to weld like Bob, because even I give it a go later in the video.
Irish, Italian, Irish, Italian. So we've welded this. I'm really happy with it. The weld has gone all the way through the full thickness of the material. But what I'm going to do, just belt and braces, I'm going to sand that flat, and then I'm going to put a strip of aluminium down there and weld either side of that as well, just so it's double strong.
But before Bob does that, I've got another job to do inside the car.
This dashboard has to come out because over here the airbag has deployed and it is fully broken the dashboard. To repair this, it's a difficult one to repair because this is split open. If it re-glues down, then you re-trim it. You have to re-trim the whole dashboard, and has to be done by a special glue. And like, it's just not. It's not gonna look as good as it would do if it wasn't broken. So first thing we've got to do is get this out. Then we've got to get a new one to put in it, along with the airbag as well. And on top of that, we might as well get the steering wheel airbag out as well, because if we're going to have any chance on starting this car, I definitely think all the airbags have to be in. Let's start getting this out. Let's start off with the steering wheel. Behind it, there's 2 holes to push a screwdriver in, and then the airbag just pops out. Then there's 2 airbag connectors on the back of the airbag. A lot of the time, when the airbag deploys, it creates so much heat that it melts these connectors into the airbag. But luckily, we seem to have got away with it here. Speaker hole, no speaker. You might have to pay more for that one. It still looks like there's room for optional extras on this Ferrari, like this hole for the speaker in the dashboard, but no speaker in there. And we find some more stuff along the way. Next thing, we've got to get the instrument cluster out. And then I'm going to move over to the passenger side of the dashboard. All I'm trying to get off here is the top half of the dash, the leather part. That's all that's damaged. And after a while, I finally got it loose. And me and my dad can lift it out of the car. Dashboard out. Boom. And look, here's one we got earlier from Lithuania, second-hand somehow on eBay, with an airbag in. £2,000 this cost. And as soon as I bought the car, seeing this on eBay, so I just bought it because the chances of me getting another dashboard for a 296 second-hand on eBay with red trim is very slim. A dashboard from Ferrari is £5,100. Then another £700 for the passenger airbag. So I think we've done well here. Let's get the new dashboard with the airbag back in, hopefully in time before Bob comes back and continues the welding. Hit the music! This dashboard isn't really too hard to install. Because the actual physical part of the dash stays in place, this leather part just pushes into it, and then all the electrical items just clip in and bolt to it. My dad's now clipping in the instrument cluster, being careful not to miss any wires out the back, because we don't want to be taking this apart again. Then I'm over on the passenger side, putting in the screws for the dash, the speakers, then the speaker surrounds. After that, I'm installing these buttons, which aren't actually buttons. I think they're called haptics. And my dad's getting in all types of weird positions to put the bolts in underneath the steering wheel, whilst I'm still on the passenger side putting in all the lower half of the dashboard, which is this red Alcantara. Once that's all in and the glove box is in, I can finally put in the carpet. This is after we replaced the floor in the previous video. Slide through the electrical wire for the hole in the carpet, and then the carpet bolts to the frame of the car. In here is the airbag module, which we took out in the last video. If you didn't watch that, you should be subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any more videos. But this is the computer which has everything to do with the airbags. On here will be crash data, and we're hoping actually this might be the reason why the car doesn't actually start. It could be. All we've done is we've taken it out, we've sent it to the airbag team, and they've plugged into it like directly to the pins to tell the car that it's no longer been in an accident and it's safe to go again. So we're hoping this could be the reason why the car's not starting. Who knows? No one's ever done it before. So we're going to plug this in. It has to be bolted to the car because it's got a yaw sensor in. And the Range Rover, we tipped it when we plugged it in and all the airbags went off. Well, I thought, so we're not going to be doing that. Let's put this in, plug it in, and then this whole center console can go in. Let's get it in. So in goes the airbag control unit, bolted right at the front of the car and to the lowest point possible. There's 2 plugs which go into it, and that's job done there. Now we can start adding back all the carpet around it and the center console. There's a wireless charger for your phone at the front of the center console, that needs to be plugged in. Then all the USB ports at the back, they need to be plugged in. And then the gear selector in the middle. Before I put the center console in place, I've got to put the carpet on the rear shelf in because the center console lays over the top of it. Again, this carpet bolts into place. Then
I could put in the center console. And all the bolts are hiding underneath the cup holders and the cutouts for your phone.
Looking good. Center console in, dashboard in. It's starting to look a bit more like a car. We've still got seat belts to put in and curtain airbags to put in. But I think next up, maybe, let's put that steering wheel airbag in.
Let's put the steering wheel airbag in. Here's the new one. Well, second-hand one I found on eBay again.
Oh, yes.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, yes. Get in there.
These airbags are the same out the Ferrari Roma,
Cool, man.
the Ferrari 812, and the 296. So that was a little easier to find. Back over to Bob.
Next job, we're going to take this weld down, make it nice and flat. Then we're going to get a nice piece of plate and we're going to plate over it. So triple weld.
Triple weld.
Triple weld. That's 3 times as much weld.
Now Bob told me this isn't really needed because his single weld will be more than strong enough. But this is just kind of there for any doubters and sort of gives you peace of mind. Ferrari do the same thing in similar places, like you can see in the lower right hand corner here.
Now it's fixed, the lads can finally get the engine back in and get it started, hopefully.
Back to the interior. Continue with the carpets, then we've got the seat belts, then we've got the curtain airbags. Let's go.
Just got to finish off bolting the rear carpet in place, then the seat belts are back from the airbag team after being reset, and I can install these back to the original place.
Come on.
And my dad's doing the same on the driver's side. Then the leather trim goes in, which goes below the rear window. And we found some more parts which look like work harder parts.
Look, that's clickbait as well. You think that's a speaker?
Why do they do that?
It's not even a speaker, it's just clickbait. Why have they done it like that, genuinely?
It looks like a Sonos soundbar.
It would be a good place to put a speaker
that
as well,
would be
to
amazing.
go off the back of the window bit.
But that would cost money.
Yeah, or maybe it's a work harder, because like these look like work harder holes as well, don't they?
What, you don't get the tweeters in the back?
No, unless you work harder.
We actually find out what that cutout for the rear speaker is for later on in the video.
We're going to check the fuses, because we checked the front ones, we're just going to check these ones to make sure nothing's gone. Good, 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 good.
Before we put the trim in, we thought it was a good idea to check all of these fuses, just in case.
Good. I feel like a dentist, you know, we're like 92, 15.
92? You do know the first number means the number of tough.
Yeah, if they're doing a crocodile.
Because all those fuses were good, we can safely put back in the leather trim. And that's about half of the interior complete.
That's all this side together. Roof lining can't go on just yet until we got the curtain airbags. They're not here at the minute. And we can't put that side together because we've got to do the rear quarter on here. So over to the rear quarter. Let's go.
Welcome back here. This bracket here, which has had a hit, but we think it is meant to be indented like that because the fuel tank didn't have any damage. These things are just self-tappers and they're welded as well, Ferrari. And we just need to get this back flat to where it was, self-tapper back where they were. If Bob wants to run a bit of weld on it, no problem, but I think that is just literally protection for the tank for like sharp objects or something. I can't see what else it's there for. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do next. We're going to try and get this back flat. Exciting. Off we go. Out comes the hammer. And then the self-tappers. Most of this feels so wrong, but it's how Ferrari would have put it together. Now that that's all in, I'm just going to give it a coat of paint just to protect the bare metal. Again, none of this is going to be seen anyway because the rear quarter will cover it and loads of shielding. But that's looking much better than before. But we can't put the engine in just yet because the rear subframe is damaged and a new one is just over £3,000. Luckily, we've got a Bob. He's going to cut out the damaged part of the subframe and then make a new piece to go in its place.
So I've welded the plate onto the subframe of the engine and I tried to copy the hole points from this side to this side, but it's all different. Don't know why. So I've had to try and copy them from this onto the subframe. Absolute nightmare. I had to build this little jig thing that goes up there. And effectively what that does, it copies where the holes are, so it can take this piece, transfer it onto the engine subframe, and then just draw a little hole and drill.
Shall we drill?
We should drill.
This type of skill is saving us thousands, and I have no doubt that is not going to work. Bob's now drilling out the holes where the bolts go through, which mount it to the chassis, and then he's just going to make it the same shape it was before. And that is job well done there. Cheers, Bob.
Bob has done a sensational job. We couldn't have done it without Bob. All we've got to do now is test whether everything all works. So we've got to lift in the fuel tank, and as we put our bracket there, we've got to hope that it slides up there. And once we've got the fuel tank in, we can then start really building everything up and put the rear quarter on, because the rear quarter does actually bolt to the frame at the back here. So really we need to get all this in to know it all works. So first step, fuel tank, then let's get this engine in. Let's go.
Now that the fuel tank is empty, it's a lot easier to put into place. Slides in, and then the brackets around it hold it to the chassis. And luckily, it seems to be fitting all well. So it looks like we've fitted all the panels around it properly. Then I've got to connect the hose up, which goes from the left-hand side fuel tank to the right-hand side. And once that's in, I've just got to tighten up all the bolts which hold the brackets on. And finally, the heat shield, to protect it from the exhaust and the heat from the engine. Now, it's time for the engine to go in, along with the whole rear end of the car, gearbox, suspension and subframe. Me and my dad are pushing it into place, and we've got to lower the car down so it lines up with those subframe bolts. And once we get it in the right place, we can put the bolts in from the top.
Right, now the monstrous job of connecting up everything that we disconnected to get this car, to get the engine out of the frame. This is going to be a bit of a mad one. Let's do it.
Up the car goes in the air, and then we can tighten all the subframe bolts from underneath, and some more brackets for the fuel tank. And would you look at that, the bolts where Bob fixed the subframe line up nicely. Then we connected up the brake lines for the rear brakes, which connect in the middle of the car, and once that's done there, we can lower the car back down and start with the wiring, which is absolutely insane. There's so much wiring, but on both sides of the car. My dad tackled the right hand side and I tackled the left. Once we made progress with the wiring, there's loads more parts to put in, like the oil filler line, the wires for the inverter at the back of the car, the bonnet latch, which sits on a frame at the back of the car, and then intercooler hoses, which lead from the turbo to the intercooler, which sits in the rear quarter. And we've got to make sure we tighten everything up, because we'd be in trouble when we start the car.
This bit, as we're putting it together, we're trying to work out what everything does, because there's so many unnecessary bits. For example, this hole here going into the cabin, where we thought there was a speaker before, it looked like there was a sort of netting for a speaker, where it's actually, it kind of is a speaker. All this does, all these tubes here, it's taking the engine sound from the engine down the tubes inside there, and then out of that thing that looks like the speaker in the back, it's blowing it out of there, so you get like engine noise inside the cabin. We spent a while connecting up the hoses for that, thinking, oh, it's so vital, but really it's just a cool hole. Yeah. In fact, we can test it.
You can hear that. You can hear that. Put that there.
That's where we was putting the noise, and that's connected there.
And that pipe leads out of there and then to a little pipe in the exhaust. It'd be interesting to hear what this sounds like once the car's running.
Right, here's the situation. Ferrari have been a little bit delayed on getting us the parts. So right now, what we really wanted to do is put the hybrid battery back in, but we can't put the hybrid battery back in because then we'd obstruct getting to these bolts, which these aircon lines go to. So what we want is the aircon lines to go on first. We don't have the aircon lines yet because Ferrari's delivery hasn't arrived. The next thing we could do, the rear quarter panel, which is over there, has been delivered. But if we put the rear quarter panel on, we're then going to obstruct us putting these aircon lines in, which haven't arrived yet. So all of this at the minute is really on hold at the minute. The curtain airbags are also on hold. We're waiting for Ferrari to deliver them because the airbag team couldn't reset those type of airbags. So they're coming separately. But it's a good job we've got a Bob from the machine shop, because over here, this is the thing we can do. This frame, which quite funnily as well, look, there's a bit of weld wire left from Ferrari when they did it. Nice. This has got to go on here, and the good thing about this is when Bob puts this on and welds this all back up to how it should, even the front frame as well, when that front frame goes on like that, we'll be able to assemble all the radiator and everything at the front, because I think I hope we've got the majority of that. So right now, we're going to leave it again to Bob from the machine shop to crack on with it and give you guys some welding entertainment.
While he does that,
Yeah.
I think we need to get some food.
So me and Matt went to go grab food whilst Bob welded on the new frame for the radiator. Welcome to my kitchen, but not with food, with Y food.
Stop messing around.
It is a perfect meal replacement drink. It's not a diet drink, it's not a protein shake. It simply replaces one meal throughout the day, and right here we have got one hell of a selection. Y food is perfect for people like myself and Bob, who are constantly on the go and need something fast but also healthy. And Y food now have this winter collection with some nice wintry flavours here. Well, inside one of these there is 34 grams of protein, 26 vitamins and minerals, no added sugar, it's high in fibre, high in protein, it's lactose free, it's gluten free, and one of these drinks is enough to keep you full up to your next meal. It tastes like apple pie. I've been drinking Y food for years now, and it's been easy to keep it fresh because there's so many different flavours to choose from. Bob's now lining up the frame in the middle of the car, and I'm checking out some other Y food products. We're lucky that some of these are still left because we've been scranning these salted caramel ones. These are really high in protein, again 25 vitamins and minerals in here. Really, really good, and 100% recommend it for people who are constantly on the go like ourselves. And maybe in the new year, if you're thinking of getting healthier and trying to replace that fast food that you eat at lunchtime, this is a great place to start. Go grab a Y food taster pack or some of the winter collection with the link in the description box below. There's 25% off right now. Go grab it, the link is in the description. There's a discount code on the screen as well. If you use that, you get 25%. Let's see how Bob's getting on.
This is going to hover above the surface of the material by about 3 millimeters. Okay, you're going to be about 60% to this side, because this is a bigger chunk of metal than that. This will melt away. This will be a bit more stable. Yeah. Get your hand purchased as close as you can to it. Okay, so you have to be stable. Press the button. You'll see the arc or the flame jump across and start to melt the surface.
I need to learn how to do the smaller jobs with this TIG welding, and whilst I've got Bob here, I might as well let him teach me. It seems to be going alright. He mentioned that the UV light from welding is quite bad for you, but because we're using low amps for a short period of time, we should be fine. Surely that's better than that. I think my weld isn't looking too bad. Maybe it's on par with Ferrari. Now, the centerpiece can go in, and Bob's going to finish this part off. But next time, I want to be able to do this myself. Yes! Finally, they've arrived, but not from Ferrari. So, we've got some parts, but not all parts. But hopefully, we have enough to get this car kind of going, to make some kind of progress. Inside this package, there's loads of second-hand parts I managed to buy from Eurospares, which is not only saving money, it also should be the parts that we need to get this car started, hopefully. Loads of cooling pipes, an intercooler, and sensors. We're installing all of these pipes now because we're really going to struggle getting to them once the hybrid battery's in and the rear quarter. They bolt to the chassis, some ground wires go on, and then we're going to slide in the pipes. Some of these are for the air conditioning inside the car, and some for battery cooling as well. Broken intercooler pipe. New one. New intercooler pipe. Slide it into the hose, and then we're going to clamp it down. After that, we need to build up the intercooler with the boost pipe which is connected to it. If we put this on, Bob's got a weld here for the rear quarter, and he's going to hate us for life. if we put that on. But if we want to try and start it in this video, we could just hang this on, and then when it comes to putting the quarter on, we take it back off for him, because he will hate us forever if he has to weld in that tiny little gap.
So that's the plan. We'll temporarily fit the intercooler for now. Then we're moving to the front of the car. We've got to build up the radiator and the aircon condenser. Because none of this was on the car when I picked it up, we're just following diagrams that we've seen online, so we can copy them, which will help us build this all up. After that, we've got to slide it into the frame which Bob's welded on, and use the bolts which were already on the car after the accident to hold it all in place. Once that's in, we slide on the hose on the front, the smaller hose at the rear of the radiator, clamp that into place, and then the big hose at the back of the radiator as well has all got to be clamped on. And then there's 2 air conditioning pipes which go into the AC condenser at the front as well. We've got these second-hand from Eurospares. And once they're all connected, we've then got the shroud which goes over the top of it, which we realised we probably should have fitted first. But nevertheless, we managed to fit.
Okay, few bits are missing on the front, like little rubber grommets to hold that in, few brackets here and there, but they're not that vital to get it started. Everything that we need to get it started on the front should be there, unless we're going by what Ferrari said, and they're saying that everything on the can, which is like a communication wire system, so like your headlights, so pretty much everything on the car needs to be on in order for it to start it, which I just can't see. I really can't see every single thing needed to be plugged in for it to start. I could be completely wrong though. The next thing that we need to start putting on is, of course, we really wanted that pipe there, that cooling pipe, because the bolt goes from the inside out, because the hybrid battery, as soon as we put that in, we're going to struggle to get to that bolt, but it's not arrived, and we really want to see whether we've made any difference by doing it. So I do think we're going to put in the battery and then struggle with that bolt afterwards. Again, we don't want to put the rear quarter on because that's going to obstruct us with that as well. The good news is that this plug is for the fuel pump module. That's arrived, so we can plug that in and repair this plug to an extent. Again, that's interesting as well, that the plug, you can't order separately from Ferrari. You can't order any plugs. The only way to get that plug is to order a whole wiring loom, which we're not going to do. So we're going to have to sort of, we tried to have a look online to see if there was any plugs similar, but it's a really specific plug. So we're going to have to kind of like make it ourselves, make sure that the connections work, maybe fill it with a bit of Tiger Seal so it's waterproof. But that is probably our best bet with that. But we're nearly there on trying to get it going. The only thing that we are missing, which I do think it might need, are the curtain airbags, and they haven't arrived yet either. But again, surely it will start without them. I don't know. There's only one way to find out, and that is to start fitting the rest of the parts.
If we're going to have any hope on getting this car started, we're going to need the hybrid battery in. So again, we're sliding underneath the car with the battery on top of the toolbox and then bringing the car down onto it.
Right, go in the car, put these bolts in. This is going to hold the battery in from the top. Then we should be able to move the toolbox out from underneath and do the brace underneath that holds it from the bottom.
So there's now 2 bolts holding the battery in from above, and now I can go underneath now and put the cooling pipes into the battery and a ground wire as well. And then on top of that, we can now connect all the high voltage lines along with the brace at the bottom of it to hold it all into place properly. And that's looking good there. Now to bring the car down. And now I've got the fuel pump control module that I need to plug in. I'm not sure where this actually mounts on the car yet, but I'm sort of going to salvage the old plug. Part of it does still plug in, and then the other wires I'm going to pin on individually onto the module. One of them was broke, so my dad found a pin off an old plug, pinned that to the module, and then we just connected the wires together temporarily just to get this car started. That'll work for now. Then I can put back on the intercooler, tighten that up, and finally the engine ECU, which actually bolts to the rear quarter, which we've not fitted yet.
Then this. What the hell is that? But it looks important. That's in. Right. Everything is plumbed in. All these pipes are for the filler nozzle and the evap system. I don't think the car will know that they're not in until it starts. We're just trying to get it to start. The only other issue, I think, is the hybrid battery is going to be flat. So we're going to have to charge the hybrid battery. But to charge it, I'm sure it's going to want to be cooling whilst it's charging, because you don't want to be charging it getting too hot. Now there's loads of tanks here. We've got oil tank, and then apparently another oil tank. But inside this oil tank, it smells like flowers. So I don't know what's in there. And I've had a look. These are all the handbooks you get with the car. But nothing will tell me what fluid goes in there, because I don't think anybody else but Ferrari is supposed to do it. The maximum thing I'm allowed to do, put brake fluid in and put oil in. So I don't know. It was green in that one, and then in this one, that's pink. But it would just be so much easier if it just said what fluid you need to put in rather than oil. Right, couldn't figure out what oil goes in there, so we're going to ring Ferrari tomorrow. This one again is like some green oil, can't figure out that one, so we're going to ring Ferrari there. But the least we're going to do is, we know this is all for the battery side, so because the hybrid battery is going to be flat and we want to charge it, I don't want it to overheat whilst we're charging it, so we're just going to pour the coolant in there. We've got the pink coolant that will go in there. We know that's coolant because 100%. We've seen it come out. Yeah. Hopefully this don't leak out everywhere. We don't need engine coolant to start it, and we don't need the charge cooling coolant to start it either, because they're not a problem until it does start. So next step is to reconnect up the battery safety isolation switch thing, and that's plugged back in.
Here is said battery. It's quite a small battery, isn't it?
And now we can push in the 12 volt battery, which provides power to all the body electrics. We've got power. Oh, and no hazards this time. The 12 volt battery actually doesn't start the car. The car doesn't even have a starter motor. It is the power unit which sits between the engine and the gearbox which is used to start it. The ECU will tell the power unit to spin, which turns over the engine, and that'll get it going. So because of that, it's vital that the hybrid battery has charge in it. Right, see what happens. Red's bad. Blue, I think it was good. Flashing blue. Charge cycle active. Oh my god. We're good, because if it were red, it would mean like internal device error, device malfunction, charging infrastructure fault, short circuit. But we've got double blue, which means charge cycle active. Charge time for a 296, depending on charger type, it can be fully charged in 1 hour. Oh, but a standard household socket is 2 hours. So we left the 296 to charge for a while, and once we wait for that time, we had our fingers crossed that afterwards it would start back up. Right, it's been half an hour. I think that's enough. So I'm going to unplug my hybrid. I'm going to unplug my hybrid.
You can say you haven't done that before.
I'm going to unplug my hybrid. How are you meant to unplug it then?
Probably just unplug it down, yeah.
Switch it off first.
You meant to switch it off so I don't get shocked. That's how you unplug my hybrid. A lot of people think because I'm doing a hybrid, I like hybrids, but we didn't have a great experience on the Revuelto. But I know, like, everything I didn't like about the Revuelto, this doesn't have. So I know this has a hybrid, but it's still a light car, so it's just adding power when power is good, and it's the only way manufacturers can do that now, unless they're adding big boy turbos. It's like sort of having to tick a box. If this starts up, full votes to Ferrari, because there's a lot off this car, but let's give it a go. So we've reset the airbag ECU, installed all the airbags, checked the battery over, and charged it. The dash now lights up. It doesn't have a start button. It doesn't have an actual button. It's one of them silly haptic things. Let's see if it'll go first time.
nothing. That's like the Defender doing that, you know, on the brakes. That's like the Defender did that, so I bet there's a special procedure for the brakes. But I've got nothing. That worked. Come on, do something.
Do you think it's going to work?
Or do you think the door? Do you think the door's a good place to start?
Why would the door stop the dash from turning?
The car wasn't doing anything, so we decided to bring over the door and plug that in to see if that would help. Yeah. Right, that's in. And action. It doesn't do anything. But oh, it's on. It's working. Don't know. I could now scroll through the dashboard, but I still couldn't get the ignition to come on. Only the accessories. Let's try again. Try it. Something is stopping us from turning the ignition on. But Ferrari don't even know.
There's a lot of things not
Surely
plugged
the
in on the
ignition
can.
will go on though. There's no way everything on the can needs to be plugged in for the ignition to come on. Can't believe that. Turn on!
How can I help you?
It is
English.
Italian, yeah.
Turn on! Turn the car on.
You can say, for example, show me directions to city, street, phone contact name, open recent calls, play song name, play artist name, play station name, find me a
PlayStation.
restaurant, display car settings,
Turn on!
contact name,
Quiet!
open recent calls,
More!
play song name,
More!
play artist name.
How can the car talk but not drive? It wasn't doing anything. And because we can't get the ignition on, my code reader won't talk to the car. So the car can't tell my code reader what's going on with it. Now what? We could only think of plugging more things in. And we got the front bumper and plug that in. Now the hazard is doing its thing.
ABS light. Yeah.
What's going on?
Oh, there's lots of lights.
That seemed to have helped it. So we got the rear bumper and plugged that in as well. We're only going to hang this in place because it seems like the more that we plugged in, the more that the dashboard actually did. But surely the car will start without a bumper. It just seems crazy it wouldn't. That's unlocked, right. Now the car would unlock and lock because the bumpers were on. Again, makes no sense, but who knows what this electrical system thinks. I think headlight.
Try it.
The car still didn't do anything when we pressed the ignition, so our next step were the headlights. Oh, that looks like it's working. Both headlights were now in. Rear lights. And if we're going to plug the front lights in, we might as well do the rear lights as well. And if we were going to do the rear lights, we might as well plug the seats in on top of that. Surely this thing's got to do something now. And we're connected. Back to the Morse code. Hybrid system failure, go to dealer. Press to close. Hybrid system failure. That would say to me there's a pyro fuse in it.
Yeah, or like it's in them.
Or it's done that thing with the
Yeah.
ECU. Where it's self-destructed itself.
Can you buy a new computer for these batteries, or do you have to buy a complete battery?
Complete battery.
Again.
The fact the only thing the car is telling me is that it's got a hybrid fault says to me that that's the most important fault it's got at the minute. So surely there's a pyro fuse. At the minute we've got a hybrid fault. But the thing with the Revuelto, I could read and it could tell me what was up with it. This, we're only going by the dashboard. That's it. Even Ferrari couldn't plug into it because it didn't even speak to it, did it? So we've got to find something in here that is causing that fault to come up on the dash. But when we checked it last time, it all seemed fine. I think it's all got to come down. We've got to just strip the whole thing apart. We have no other choice.
There's got to be a pyro fuse. There's got to be, and we ain't looked hard enough. We're going to whip down this battery one more time and fully dissect it. And it's out. Literally 10 minutes it took us to get that out as well. The hunt continues. We stripped apart the hybrid battery once again, in search for something obvious which is broken, like a pyro fuse. But no matter how hard we looked, on the top, we even took the side piece off as well, we could not see a pyro fuse. I decided to open up the battery control unit to have a look in there.
Infineon.
Infineon TC275.
It's made by Infineon, and the airbag team people, they can reset Infineon chips. The only one they couldn't reset was the Revuelto one.
But that's because it's self-destructed.
Yeah, it got told to self-destruct when it blows up. So we could send that to the airbag team and see what they can do.
So do you think that could be acting as the pyro fuse?
It could be.
So maybe this chip could be the answer, but it's still the unknown.
We've tried absolutely everything. We can't see a physical pyro fuse. We can't plug in the diagnostic tool. The only thing it does is light the hazards up, play music, and sometimes talk to us. The answer to our questions could be inside the brain of the high voltage battery. So I'm going to send this away to the airbag team to see if they can talk to it, reset any crash data, and put it back in. Who knows? We're the guinea pigs, and we've got to try and find out what is going on with this car. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.
Just if you're getting electrocuted, tell us.
Like a drug that I just can't deny.